Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Know It All, your career cheat sheet. For everyone who is new here, we talk about various career options, roadmaps to achieve your dream job in Canada. And if you watch the first episode, we had Pushpak here, who is a business systems analyst from CIBC. And he walked us through his journey as an international student getting into a Big Five bank in Canada. And very similar to that, we'll keep on having new guests every episode. And for today's episode, we have Dhara here with us. So again, she's a master of multiple hats, but I'll pass on the stage to her and let her introduce herself, and then we'll get into the questions. Yes, Dhara, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sachin. I'm really happy to be here. A little bit about myself. I have more than 10 years of recruiting experience. I've been working as a recruiter back home in India, also in Canada. Um, I'm mainly into IT recruiting for more than 8 years, but I've done all sorts of recruiting along the way. I've worked with in-house agencies. Um, yeah, and I came here in Canada in 2014 as an international student. And after 8 years, I become Canadian citizen. And I really like to share my knowledge and experience related to recruiting and hiring process in Canada. So I have been doing a lot of volunteer work since 8 years, and helping students, newcomers, and job seekers to prepare for interviews and career-related questions. I've also started working as a part-time professor at the Humber College. It's been a year now. I'm also studying MBA part-time, so that's about it.
Nice, awesome. A lot of things to cover, and it's a lot of content for me to dig deeper as well. So thank you so much for that. Maybe we'll get started with a bit of your background. So I heard you came here in 2014, right? So that's almost 10 years ago. So maybe give us a bit of context as to what your education was before coming to Canada, and if you had any prior industry experience, and then why you chose Canada.
Okay. Yeah, so I've done bachelor's and master's in performing arts back home. I've also done bachelor's and master's in computer application from back home. So why I studied both the bachelor and both the master's together is because I was highly confused. I had no idea what I want to do. So I was dancing since I was a kid. So I pursued my hobby as a professional degree. And then I also wanted to study computers because I was a science student. So I studied that as well. After graduating, I didn't want to teach dance in the university because I was offered that position as well because I've seen my professors there and I felt that they're stuck somewhere. And then if you become professor at dance, your life roam around in there. But I also didn't want to be a programmer
Yes.
because I was an IT graduate. So I wanted to marry my people skill and technical skills. So I ended up being an IT consultant in a startup company back home. For almost 3 years, I was like an IT consultant. So in my role, I used to bring leads from US companies for software development. And I also used to take care of the delivery stuff. If there are any glitches or issues, I also used to take the requirements from their end as to what kind of systems they want to create.
Right.
So after 3 years, one day my manager called me and they said, you know the clients, you know their requirements, you know what kind of system they want to prepare. So why don't you hire programmers for them as well?
I see.
So that's when my recruiting journey started. So again, like 3 more years, I did recruiting there as well. And why Canada? Well, there was a lot of pressure from my family to go out of the country.
Yeah.
My brother was already there in the US, but for me, US was a little expensive and Canada was affordable.
Yeah.
However, I had two choices. Like I was already qualified for the PNP nomination program. So I could
Mhm.
have easily get that and get the PR and start working right away. But I had a feeling that if I want to really have a good career in this country, I wanted to start from scratch. So that's
Sure.
why I wanted to study first and then go ahead. So I joined the HR management program at Humber College, and that's how I come here.
Nice, nice. I guess we have a lot of Humber alumni coming over on the podcast in the future as well. But awesome, thanks for sharing that. So I definitely understand that you had a lot of industry experience already when you were back home, and then coming to Canada as an international student. So I would assume there were still like variety of struggles that international students go through, right? So maybe if you would like to share a bit of that from when you came as an international student.
Yeah, sure. So the struggle for international students, I think the lack of guidance, right? Lack of social connections, lack of
Yeah,
networking. Basically, when I came here, I knew nobody and nobody knew me, right?
right.
So back home, it's like everybody knows you from your father, forefather, and here nobody
Yes.
knows. So you have to prove yourself at every step. You have to explain yourself. You have to be confident, which is not something that is instilled in our culture. So back home, no matter how accomplished you are, you always be down to earth. Now, if I
Yeah.
practice the same thing here, they think that I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to project my skills. I had to learn the resources. I think basically to capture the resources, creating connections, asking right questions,
Yes.
and be authentic to yourself. If you don't know, you don't know. If you need
Mhm.
help, you need help. So I was very shameless in that sense that if I needed help or if I had questions, I would keep on asking questions, even if my professors were annoyed or even if they think that I'm asking too much. But for me, that was requirement. So um, for first semester, I didn't do any part-time job.
Okay.
Um, because I really wanted to focus on studying. It was a new system, new culture, and I really wanted to do it well. But
Mhm.
after first semester, I did started working part-time in a grocery store as a clerk, as a cashier.
Mhm.
Even there, I had two choices. I got a job as a call center representative part-time,
Oh, nice.
and the grocery store option, but I still choose the grocery one because for me it was more exciting. I have worked in offices.
Right.
I talked to people over the phone. So there was nothing new for me to learn. I really wanted to explore. I never sweep in my home. And in a grocery store, I had to sweep the floor, which was like a punishment for me. But I really wanted to push my envelope. I wanted to be uncomfortable. I wanted to learn things that I have never did before.
Mhm.
So I took that job, and I think it was very fruitful because I get a chance to talk to people in person, face to face,
Yes.
learn
Yes.
about the culture, learn about the grocery because I wanted to
Yes.
cook food on my own here. So um, that way, I took it. I took the job as a learning experience,
Mhm.
and yeah.
Awesome. No, I definitely want to point out maybe few things from what you said. A very
Mhm.
first thing, which again I love to talk about, and I love what and again I push it on any international students that I work with or I talk to, that have like a brag sheet of whatever achievements and accomplishments you have and talk about it, right? Like as you very well said, that back home we don't have this. I mean, the culture is itself set up in this way that you just do your stuff and then you continue doing that, you move on, right? But I guess it's just how, again, different country, different culture, right? So it's just how important and necessary it is to let people know what you are doing and how good you are doing it, so that, again, you get noticed. And at the end of the day, visibility is what takes you to the next step. Right. So that's a very important point, and I'm happy to like reiterate this to everyone again that even 10 years back that was still the thing, right? Like of course today it's all digital, as in LinkedIn, you have your YouTube, Instagram content, and like n number of resources, right? But back then, even 10 years ago, when digital media was not that prominent, people were still following the same basic, I guess, ideas to
Yeah.
grow, right? So amazing. That's good to hear. And second thing that I wanted to point is how you took a job that was, a bit uncomfortable for you, right? To learn something new. And one thing that at least came up good, like one good thing that happened out of it was that you at least met a lot of people who were localites, right? Like you get to learn a lot from how they speak, what they speak, right? And again, as an international student coming to a foreign country, especially 10 years back, was again not that common. I wouldn't say a very common thing, right? So that again creates so much exposure to new things, new opportunities that you might not even know of. So it was really nice to hear that. Awesome. So I guess we already talked about your education, right? So maybe the next question that I'll put is so did you like I know you've been in the recruitment industry for a long time. So was that something straight out of college that you got into, or maybe you were into something else and then you pivoted to HR?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, I started as an IT consultant.
Mhm.
So I did that for 3 years, and I became a recruiter as an accident. So it was by chance. I didn't um, plan for it. I even didn't know that I could be a recruiter, or if that suits me or if I should do that. But it was just a part of job that I was already being a consultant. I already knew clients, so why not to hire for them? So at that time, unknowingly, I was doing 360 recruiting and consulting because I was
Mhm.
bringing in leads, I was talking to clients, I was bringing in requirements, I was hiring candidates, I was onboarding them. So I was doing what we call here 360 recruiting is exactly what I was doing there, plus a lot of project management, SEO management, stuff like
Right.
that.
Mhm.
When I came to Canada, I studied HR management because I knew that if I want to do recruiting here, recruiting is part of HR, and I didn't study HR back home. So
I
before
see.
I step into any profession, I wanted to study the rules and regulation first. So I studied HR management. But after studying HR, I realized that now I have two paths. I can become
Mhm.
an HR because I passed the exam for CHRP, so I was a certified HR professional,
Mhm.
and I can also become a recruiter. And I was not sure what path I want to take because again, recruiting was different back home, and it's a different country, different environment. I was not sure, so I did two
Mhm.
internships, one for recruiting, one for
I
HR,
see.
just to find out what would I prefer. And I think I choose recruiting again because
Mhm.
that was I feel that is my niche. So that's how then I continued doing recruiting here as well.
Got it, got it. And maybe for those who might, not be aware of the difference between HR and recruiting, right? So maybe if you could give some context around that.
Yeah, sure. So HR is a big umbrella,
Mhm.
and recruiting is one part of it. Again, you might hear recruiting and talent acquisition both. So recruiting is a linear process. Recruiting is a
Mhm.
process of um, hiring a candidate, whereas talent acquisition is in-house, where it's a whole procedure of gaining and retaining talent. And it all comes under the umbrella of HR. HR has payroll, HR has recruiting, HR has training and development, HR has succession planning, HR has enforcement and compliance. So there are so many aspects falls under HR. Back home, I think what we all might have seen and done is that you are jack of all, right? So if you are into
Mhm.
HR, you do recruiting, you do
Right.
planning, you do everything. When I came to Canada, I realized that they have separate role for each function, and they're very organized in that way that here, um, you don't do all. unless you are
Mm.
in a small size company. And at least at one point, you have to decide what's your niche and what's your
Mhm.
area of expertise. You cannot be an HR and do training, and you can do recruiting and this and that and all of that if you are in a bigger company. So that's where I understand. That's what I understand, and that's a huge difference. But even if you are into recruiting, you need to know HR laws and regulation. You need to know the employment standard. You need to know the
Right.
human rights. So there are lots of things that go into the play if you are a recruiter, which comes from HR school.
Understood. Understood. Okay, makes sense. And maybe just following up on your internship experience that you shared, right? So I understand you did two different internships. So was it that you continued with the same company after that, or maybe you had to pivot to a different full-time job?
Yeah, so there were two different internships with two different organizations.
Okay.
So my first internship was um, in the second semester of HR management. So when I was
Mhm.
already in the program, that was my in the last semester, I was already doing internship, and that was for recruiting. That was the first internship I got. When I was doing that internship at the same, it was only for 4 months. As you know, it has to fulfill the requirement of your
Yeah.
course. When I was doing that internship, I was again simultaneously applying for other internships. And
Got
then after that one was over, I got a chance with another company to work with the HR department, and that was for HR administration
it.
internship. That was for 100 days. So basically, their internship was only for 100 days, and nobody was ready to take it because it was not fitting under anyone else's criteria. I said, I'll take it, I don't mind. And then those 100 days extended into 150 days and so forth.
Nice, nice. So again, a good tip for everyone. Like take any opportunity that you see, right? And you never know if it will convert to a full-time position or it will just extend, your contract will just extend and then convert to a full-time position. So awesome. That's so good to hear. And now that like you have been in, I would assume you've been in recruitment since then, like since you graduated, you've always been
Yes.
in recruitment, right? So maybe for the last 10 years, what is like a trend that you see? I know you do a lot of IT talent hiring, right? So, for all these software developers and testers and business analysts out there, so what is or what are the few suggestions and tips that you would like to give them who are applying right now to jobs?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the biggest hurdle of IT IT people, especially internationally trained or coming from India per se.
Mhm.
One thing I've seen is that they're highly motivated to work for MNCs and big companies, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's target here is what I'm seeing is that they want to work with a brand, with a big company, with a big title and a big salary right from the beginning. Um, I think I think that is killing their opportunity to actually
Mm.
grow. So, uh, my biggest advice is that don't go after the best project, but take whatever project you come across and make it the best as per your capacity. And because if you look at the economical scenario, small size businesses are adding more value to the
Mm.
economical growth than the big companies. And
Sure.
especially when you see that big companies are laying off, right? They're getting
Yes.
rid of people. And then you run after those big names. And then you get laid off. And then you
Yeah.
get frustrated. Then again, you want to find another big company. So I think we need to understand that A, we are new to the country. So we are not accustomed with the system yet, even if we are
Yes.
highly skilled. So we
Mm.
still have to learn a lot on cultural side. B, big companies are laying people off. So I don't think that's a smart decision right now, even if our society, gives you more credit to work for an MNC.
Right.
But you need to understand that, we need to act according to the time. We need to
Mhm.
see what's the trend in the market.
Yes.
And third thing, you learn a lot. in a small size company or a startup. And you'll see similar because you get lots of opportunity. Because if back home you have done a lot of things together under one role, you will apply same thing in a startup, right? And then it will give you a chance to explore more options. And then
Mhm.
you figure out that, I'm good at this particular area, this particular function within this new work environment. And then you go and then you do a specialized role in a big company. So that way you will figure out where you stand. You will not lose time in finding the right opportunity.
Yes.
And then you will actually step into a role where you know the skills of specialization rather than coming into a new country not knowing anything about the work environment and only targeting a big companies, because in big company roles are very specialized, then their functions is very systematic, then you may not be able to apply all the skills that you actually bring with yourselves.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I often like the one thing that you said, right? Like these big tech companies often hire a lot of people, and then at one point they have to again lay off half of them, right? So uh, technically, it does not make a lot of sense, especially in the market we are right now. Honestly, having a job right now is of much more you know importance than having a job at a big tech company or at an established brand as such, right? So, as you very well said, take a project, make it the best, and that's how you build credibility. As if, let's say, you're working at a startup or a mid cap company, you work there for a year or two, you build up your skills, you get accustomed to the environment out there, to the work culture out there, right? And then as and when you see or feel as if you are ready to switch, you're ready for the next opportunity, you can always apply, right? And you can always take that step. But just counting on that one thing and not utilizing every opportunity that is out there should definitely not be the case. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so next question is an interesting one. How does a or what does a day in a life of a recruiter look like? So like maybe walk us on a high level through your day.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. It actually differs whether you're working in an agency or you're working in-house. But I would
Okay.
like to say, um, in general, if I would combine, the
Mhm.
function. So recruiting or TA, they work in a cycle. It goes in a cycle. So I would start with first, there is an intake call in the morning, or there is
Mm.
a team meeting in the morning with your manager or with your team, so that you know what are the deliverables for the day. Then you might have an intake call with the hiring manager or with the sales manager or with the accounts manager along with your team, you and your recruiting manager, so that you understand the requirements of the job, new jobs that is coming in, and then you have to work upon. Then there is a sourcing part, because now you have the jobs on your plate. So you go out there and source candidates. So maybe you send messages, maybe you make a bunch of calls, but basically you try to reach out to the right candidate. After that, once you start getting responses, you're full on either sending email messages and scheduling calls with them, or you may just give them a call because maybe it's a short term role or maybe
Right.
contract role, so you have to call them right away.
Mhm.
So calls, and then or setting up the calls, and then I you jump onto the roles where you have the ball rolling. Now you have set up meetings. So either I have a phone interviews, or I have video interviews. So I complete on those. Then I will go ahead and look at those candidates who are in the second stage. So maybe I want to send them for the next round of interviews. If I'm in-house, I'll schedule interviews with the hiring managers or technical managers or team leads, or I will send them for to the accounts managers and I'll prepare their presentation. So, and in other days, if you have interview requests, then you reach out to the candidates and then you give them information about the interview. And in the next stage, you may have candidates who have got the job offer. So you have to reach out to them and then give them the information about what the job entails. And then maybe there are candidates who have received the job, who have accepted the job. So at times I'm preparing their offer letters and their onboarding procedures. So it's a circle and it keeps going on. For every job, the circle goes on. But at any typical day, it's full of variety, full of uncertainty, and it's every day looks pretty different.
Right. It feels as if it's very dynamic, right? Like you adapt to whatever the day starts with, as if it's scheduling calls, scheduling interviews, writing up job offers. So, yep, sounds pretty interesting. So, now that we are talking about job offers, right, or maybe talking about recruitment in general. So, let's say if you have put up a job opening posting out there, right? So whenever people start applying, like nowadays, you see like as soon as you post 100 applicants, right, in under 1 hour, right? So I completely understand how overwhelming it becomes for the organization as well as to consume so many applications in such short time. But then how do you process those applications, or how do you go ahead from such huge intake of applications then?
Yeah, good question. So definitely not through ATS.
Mm.
Definitely there is no AI or there is no automotive system that screen the candidates on their own and give me only 5 out of 100. So I work with so many companies, uh, large, small, um, uh, different ATS systems, only Excel sheets, right? But every I have to go through manually each and every application.
Wow. Okay.
So there is no magic formula to review all of them and shortlist them. It's literally manually shortlisting them.
Wow.
System helps you because if you want to reject somebody, you just have to click a button and it will send an automatic response that you are rejected. Yes,
Got it.
that's automatic because I'm not going to write something to
Sure.
everyone that I want to reject. Or if I want to do a phone screening, I'll have to click and it will send us typical message for further phone
Right.
screening.
Right.
Or if I or anything like that. So those messages are typed in, those categories are there. But personally, you have to review all of them manually.
Interesting. Interesting. So for everyone again applying, don't worry, your resumes are being reviewed by the recruiters. So which is again a good thing, good to know. And okay, so once all these applications are in, right, or maybe if you have, let's say, top five applicants, those are almost similar to each other or could be the best fit for the role, right? So then, is it like you schedule like a one-on-one call with them and then get to know a bit more, and then how many people go to the next round? That's what my question is.
Yeah, that's a good question. So again, it depends based on whether it is in-house or agency.
Mhm.
Uh, but typically, if I review 50, say I review 50 applications, I shortlisted, say 30. I send
Mhm.
messages to all 30 that, let's have a call, or I ask them for further information. Based on that, I shortlist 20. After those 20, I gather some more information. Maybe I need their updated resume. Maybe I just want to make sure they are at the right location. Maybe I just want to make sure their salary expectation are within the range or anything which is very typical or must for the role. Me personally, I verify that even before I talk to them, just to make sure that, we are not wasting each other's time.
Sure.
Um, and and after those, that if I have those 20, after those 20, I shortlist 10. And if I'm talking to those 10 people, and then I come up with those five, either I do more detailed interview with them, or after talking to them, I send them to the hiring manager or the accounts manager. Now, how many goes to the next step depends because if I'm in agency and if I have a limit of only presenting three candidates, even if I see that I have five shortlisted, I will choose three out of those five because
Got
that's my limitation. If a company say that, we don't mind, send me five, then I might say all five of them.
it. Understood. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. It really helps understand the process. So, Now that we are talking about applications, right? Maybe I will take it from a different angle. The next question. So let's say you are already having an employee working at your organization who is, let's say, a software developer, like an entry level software developer for a few years. And now he is looking for a title bump or a promotion after 2 years, let's say. That's a very standard timeline that people generally follow, rather, right? Not necessary that every organization follows that as well. But if you have any such candidate, so how does that process look like, as if you were looking to promote someone? So is it more of a hiring manager decision or a organization in general, organization level decision?
Yeah, good question. So I understand where it is going. So if I'm in, so usually, um, what I've seen in companies that there are certain companies, they already have a set standard and live standards as to who would be promoted. So for example,
Okay.
I was working with a cybersecurity company. We had a very typical process of promoting. So
Okay.
there is a in a SOC environment, there is a level one, level two, level
Yes.
three. So after every year, you can pass on to those level. We have also set the standard for them to pass certain certifications. So
Right.
you enter as a level one analyst, you pass
Mhm.
this many three certifications, and if you perform well, you understand your concept well, then after 1 year, hiring manager or your team manager, they will suggest that, I want to get take them to level two
Got it.
or level three. Or now I want to make them sim engineer or a system engineer or stuff like that. So in certain companies, there are very set standards, and your manager will give you feedback on that. That you are
Sure.
ready for promotion or you are not ready for promotion, or you should do certain certification. Um, so I think HR or recruiters do not have much interference into that. The managers will decide because they work with them on daily basis, and then they will inform HR that, from this today onwards, they'll be working on so and so level. If they want to understand if that their level of expertise, I think it's really 101 thing.
Sure.
But if you want to change the department, for example,
Mhm.
like for example, somebody was working, I don't know, as an office assistant in one of my previous companies, and then she wanted to become a proposal writer, right?
Mhm.
Because she was doing some course and she wanted to change department. That will go through the HR and the TA. So then will come into the play. I'll have will have a process that their team leader, they should the candidate should inform their team leader that I want to
Mhm.
apply for other position. um, they should inform that manager, so that both
Mhm.
the managers of both the team should be agreed that this person
Right.
wants to transfer. And also they have to go through the interview process. So they will go through TA. They will discuss about, as if you're doing interview for the first time to any new company like that. And then they will review you on all those criteria. And then if they're right, then they'll go to the hiring manager, because a different team member, and then it will process through HR. But I think your question, so what I'm telling you is more from a technical point of view as to how can you
Right.
progress. I think your question is more like, how can you progress in your career? Um,
Yes.
right? Like if I'm a software developer, now I want to go to the next level, what should I
Mhm.
do?
Right.
Um, I think that's where the career coaching comes into the play, and I provide very basic guidance. But I
Mhm.
think if you are a software developer, you want to go to next level, I think you should take a lot of advice from people who are already on the upper level in your company and who are doing higher level software engineering. You should also surround yourself with other people in the network, in the professional
Right.
environment. It could be that you develop your skill set. It could be you develop certain connections within your company and learn about the systems, processes properly. You also learn about the projects that is going on in different teams as well, so that maybe I like to contribute in this particular project, you also gain some certifications, right? So if you say that I'm expert on XYZ technology, you studied them when you were in the university, but why not to take a professional certifications to highlight your skills too? So I think it's a combination of all of that, the networking, the skills upgrading, and the know-how of what's going on, what projects are there in your company. Um, but I think people from your own industry will be able to guide you better than someone like me who is a career coach or a recruiter or a TA or an HR.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. To, I guess, surround yourself with like-minded people will definitely give you more insights. And then again, talking to people who are already working at that position gives you a better, I guess, inside knowledge of what you need to do to get there, right? So, makes sense, definitely. And now that we are talking about, having like-minded people around, or you just talked about career coaching as well. So, did you have any mentor when you were graduating, or when you were still in your internship, moving to a full-time position? And how important do you feel mentorship plays a role?
Yeah, definitely. So I once I had a mentor, but I had a job coach.
Okay.
So when I was looking for a job right after graduating, I had a job coach from a nonprofit organization called Job Start, which is today is acquired by Wood Green Community. Job coach is basically somebody who helps you with your resume, who prepares you for the interview, who helps you to find out the relevant opportunities for you to apply. In my case, my job coach was very helpful because they helped me upgrade my resume. I think my resume had a lot of stuff, which was not very clear. And I think because
Um,
on paper it was not clear, even in the interview, I think I was not able to articulate my experience to the point. But after meeting with her, after going through a few sessions with her, I got clarity about my own profile, and I got clarity about what should I highlight and how should I present myself, and that helped me tremendously in my confidence, and also in my interview presentations. Most importantly, it gave me a lot of moral support, because when you get rejected, and you don't find the right opportunity, you start feeling that something's wrong with you. You start doubting yourself. But I think she gave me a lot of moral support, and she told me that nothing's wrong with me. And that actually, I think that's all I wanted at that time, right? And I think that moral support is really important. So job coach or mentor, 100%, it has changed my whole interview process 360. So
Right.
um, I would highly suggest to have someone that you can discuss with. And also, I think apart from preparing for the interview, I think she helped me in finding out that what kind of jobs are fake, and what kind of opportunity I should take or not take. Or I came across one company and they had interview with me, but the kind of offer letter they gave me, she told I show it to her before I
Mhm.
accept anything, and she said that I don't think it's legitimate. And I
Mhm.
had no idea. When you are new to the country and you are desperate to get a job, sometimes you hope on to anything, thinking that maybe this will be the job.
Right.
So to have somebody by your side who can give you those right judgments is very important.
Mhm. And that's why I guess in the first episode, when Pushpak and I were talking about something similar, he also mentioned a very good point that it's not the case that you only need one mentor, or you should only have one mentor, right? It could it could very well be that you're talking to multiple people who can provide variety of inputs and criticism to what you're doing, right? And apart from that, like with all of this going on, I guess it is also your own job to take it as a constructive criticism, and then put that work on whatever you're doing, right? Be it your resume, as you said, be it your job search strategy itself, right? A lot of people. have the best resume, have the best skill set, but they don't channel it in a way to, like target what kind of roles or what kind of a job they want to do. So I guess all of this comes from someone who is, as you said, already working there or maybe has been here for a while, knows how the industry works, and having someone like that as your mentor, as your friend, as your coach, career coach, definitely makes it much more easier, right? Obviously, you can do it without them. It's not that you're completely dependent on them, but then again, the insights they provide or the strategies that they provide are proven, right? They already know this is going to work. If not today, then tomorrow for sure. So that really helps you put things in perspective, and I'm sure it will increase your chances of landing a job sooner.
Yep.
Awesome. So now that we definitely talked a lot about mentorship in general, right? So maybe if you have seen like a shift since the last 10 years, right? Like from people doing networking in person to slowly and gradually doing a lot of digital networking, attending a lot of online events, and still obviously in-person networking will always stay evergreen, right? But how do you take this transition from like in person to online? And then what is your take and maybe a few suggestions on the same for all these students out there?
Yeah, so that's a good point actually. You are right, there is a trend, and I definitely see that too. So before COVID, 100% all the events I've attended was in person, so that you can see people face to face, they can see you. Um, and afterwards everything shifted to Zoom. So I think today we are in a good shape in the sense that some events are online, some events are in person. Then there is a LinkedIn. So what you should do, I think ideally, we should we should take a hybrid approach. So you
Mhm.
do some events online if you cannot go in person, right? And if you try to still attend in-person events because you can't do everything online. And
Sure.
even if and once you meet somebody, rather either online or in person, make sure that you send a connection request. Make sure that then you send a short message so that you remember where you meet them, and then
Yeah.
try and keep the track, follow them, like their posts or put in some comments. Take interest, basically. Don't just create a connection and be a part of the network and then forget about it. Take interest in them, learn about them a little more, try and find out who they are. And so I think have that hybrid approach, and do not underestimate the value of the in-person event. So whenever you can, just go outside. If you don't have a job, that's an excellent time. Go out and
Yeah.
attend as many events as you can, because once you have a job, then you will be restricted. You won't be able to do that. Then you have to rely on all your online activities. So I have done a lot of. I think whatever networking I have done is just because I was curious. I was curious to know about those people. I was curious to learn about how their career trajectory pans out, and I was simply curious to know people's achievements, how they did it. Because in
Yeah.
my opinion, everybody who is not just in Canada, but in general, in a very spiritual sense, if you are existed, and if you are living, then you must be fighting as well. So I want to
Yeah.
know everybody's battle. I want to know everybody's struggle so that I can get inspired and I can learn from it.
And I guess in like my personal experience, the best way to learn is from someone's journey. Like when you attend these events, like be it in person, be it online, the way or rather the insights that anyone on the panel, on the workshop, in the seminar shares with you from their journey, they are literally giving out live experiences, right? Like, let's say, for example, this I was using this strategy ABC, and I tried it out for a few months, but it didn't just work out, right? And then when I switched to this XYZ, that worked out right away. So now you already know that, okay, ABC is something I don't really have to touch. I can just follow XYZ and then I can get it done, right? So, and again, I guess when you hear someone say that, you tend to believe it a bit more than reading it or watching a YouTube video. And the both of these things could be literally the same thing, but then just because you are hearing it from someone who has been through that journey makes it more believable, right? So as you very well said, like learning from people's experience, that's the best teacher, best source to learn anything new that you want to learn. And again, events like these, be it in person or online, always provide a lot of networking opportunity, right? And one more very good thing that I always like to reiterate to students is that, which again you mentioned as well, right? Whenever you build a connection, make sure that it's a meaningful connection, right? It's not just that you are reaching out to them, saying, "Hey, I met you at the event." Nothing for 6 months, and then a new role comes in, you ask them for a referral, right? I mean, sure, if you want to keep that as your relationship, all good. If you're okay with that, if you are getting a response from the other person, all good. But technically, if you are actually networking with someone, you should build a meaningful relation wherein you stay in touch with them every now and then, right? As you said, you interact with their posts, you comment on their posts, you talk about, and then when you say comment on the post, please do not just post hashtag interested or just like that, because imagine thousands of people are reacting to that post, right? Because again, a very common thing that I've seen, of course, I'm sure you have noticed this as well, Dara, that ever anytime a recruiter posts a job, people go on there writing, commenting for better reach, interested, right? Now imagine you as a recruiter has to go through those 1,000 comments per day at least, right? Now, why would you as a recruiter choose any random person who just wrote interested as the comment, right? That just does not make sense. So don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Rather, put some time to it. Try to come up with something that's meaningful, that really interests the person you are reaching out to. And I'm very sure that that will at least give you something better, give you a better edge over everyone else that's doing the same thing.
Very true. Very well said.
Yeah. One very fun instance that I still remember is that I was just browsing through LinkedIn and I came across a recruiter from Manulife. So I'm still in touch with her very, very closely. I interact with her posts as well. So I think she just happened to post a LinkedIn poll writing something. I don't really remember a question, but then it was a follow-up kind of a poll, right? Like, what else would you like to add to this? And again, being a recruiter, she had a lot of following, a lot of people had already reacted to the post. They had submitted their poll on that LinkedIn post as well, but there were no comments on that, right? Now, again, this was a 6, 8 months, 10 months back, and now I was not really looking for a job. I was happy with what I am doing. I was really working on great projects, but then I still wanted to build, or rather keep that connection with that person, right? So I wrote a very good comment explaining what I would do extra on top of what she had listed. And in just an hour or so, she reached out to me that, hey, I see that we connected a while back. If you're looking for any roles at Manulife, let me know. I would be happy to discuss. So, see, I was not even looking for a job, not that I switched at all as well, but just because I interacted with someone and I did something different than all the 1,000 other people that were reacting to the post, I got something that they did not. Right. So, you never know whenever an opportunity would open up to you. So, put in your time and effort, and one day it will happen eventually, right? Awesome, awesome. I guess we have covered almost everything. Maybe just one last question as a concluding statement. So, from such huge amount of experience that you have in the industry, maybe a few tips or a few advice that you would like to give our students out there. And then one thing that maybe you would like to tell yourself from 10 years ago when you came as an international student, that if you knew this one thing, then you would have been even like your life would have been even much easier than it is, or it was back when you were a student.
Okay. So I think there are two parts of
Yes.
it. So, uh, my best advice to especially international students or whosoever is a newcomer is that be aware of all the scams going on around. I
Yes.
think if you don't earn money, that's fine, but you can definitely not afford to
Lose
lose what
money.
you have.
Yeah.
So, and it may sound cliche, but I think you never know because lot of scams going on, especially when you are new and you are not aware about the system. So if
Yep.
anybody is threatening you, anybody is creating a sense of urgency, or anybody is asking you for any personal information, anybody is saying that you will be deported or police is going to be right there in front of your door or anything like that, I think be aware, like don't suffer in silence, talk to someone, always take two, three opinions.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's my biggest advice. Everything else will fall into the place if you create that community, if you create a few people around you, create a relation with a few people around you, with whom you can go and speak about those
Mhm.
topics. I think that means you have that moral support or that cushion elements around you. So I think that's very important. Everything else will work out if that
Yeah.
basic you have. Um, Advice to me, to my former self,
Mhm.
I think I was very naive when I came here. Um, I was not much aware about the whole concept of narcissism, and I didn't know how people can manipulate you and trick you,
Mhm.
and take advantage of you. And I didn't know that. I learned all of that very hard way. Um, so if from day one I knew that, then I went through a lot of troubles or a lot of bad experiences during the jobs I have done. I think I would have not gone through that. I might have raised my voice right from the beginning, or I would have not been afraid of them right from the beginning,
Right.
and m- my career would have been very different than what it is today.
Mhm. Mhm. Amazing, amazing. I guess these are not just like your industry specific advice, right? It's more of a general life advice, which I'm sure a lot of people would relate with. And again, we have a very mixed pool of audience, right? So this is more of a work for all kind of an advice. So thank you so much for that. And I guess we almost covered all the questions, and we are at time as well. So I don't really have anything else to add, but we will, if you're okay, we'll put your LinkedIn in the post or description that we do, and then again, students can interact with the post or maybe reach out to you personally to ask any questions that they have. But again, this was really amazing. A lot of insights in the recruitment world, and I'm sure there are some people out there who would want to get into recruitment as a full-time job, right? So now you know whom to reach out to. And again, thank you so much, Dara, for coming here. And I hope to invite you soon again on a new episode.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed. And yes, always looking forward to connect with you whenever I get a chance.
Awesome. Thank you so much.